Welcome back to Launchpad on Business Radio, powered by the Wharton School. I'm your host this week, Carl Ulrich. I'm Vice Dean of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the Wharton School, where I teach those subjects as well as product design. I'm super lucky to have in the studio Cory Levy, who's the co-founder and COO of the After School app. And I'm going to just point you to their website in case you don't already have it on your mobile device. After School app. Just put those words together, afterschoolapp.com, or your kids probably have it on iOS or Google Play. Cory, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's start up by give me the elevator pitch for After School.
Yeah, so After School is a private social network for teenagers. We started a little over a year and a half ago with the goal of giving teens a safe place to communicate within their high school. And in that year and a half time, we've grown from 0 to millions of teens, and we're in over 80% of U.S. high schools. So essentially, in one sentence, it's After School is replacing Facebook for teenagers.
Wow. So walk me through the experience. My kids are in college or just out of college, but let's say I had a kid in high school. They'd download an app on their phone?
Correct. So they'd download an app. They'd be presented with a list of schools nearby them. They'd pick the school that they attend, and then they'd have to verify that they attend that school with either their school ID or Facebook or a number of verification mechanisms that we use. And then once you get verified, you are in a network, which is you and your fellow classmates. And you can post messages, pictures, connect with other students, yeah.
All right, so let me just think about this. So would in a school then doesn't have to adopt. An individual user can make the adoption decision. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
We work with students.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but then before long, I suppose your hope is that it goes viral in the school.
Exactly.
One of the awesome things about networking applications is that they are extremely viral. So that's a nice thing. So let's say there's, 300-400 users in my school of After School. What is the actual user experience? Is it literally like Twitter, Facebook, or
So some teens describe it as a Twitter just for your high school. So we started with anonymous postings, and then we've since grown the product and evolved it into a general purpose social network. So there's a matching feature where teenagers at school can match with each other on different activities or topics. It's like a Q&A polling game. There's still anonymous postings. There's pictures. We're working on a number of other features right now that will engage teenagers. So
I guess the obvious questions. Let's just get right into it. So the obvious questions are going to be around the perils of anonymity and how you manage that. And I know there are other Secret and Yik Yak that have had some real challenges. So were you a response to that? And how do you handle what I post that Cory was such a jerk today.
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
So we take safety very, very seriously at After School. Every single post goes through proactive moderation.
Every post.
So when you post a message, it needs to get approved by moderation in order for it to get seen by the school community. That's one of the things that we do on the safety front that no other social network does. A second thing that we do in addition to the proactive moderation is we've done some partnerships with some really cool organizations. One of them is an organization called Crisis Text Line. Mm-hmm. And if a student posts a message in After School and they post, school's really tough right now, I'm really depressed, and they post that message, they will get offered help by a trained crisis counselor through our partnership with Crisis Text Line, and over 100,000 teens have used that feature to get help. So the minute they post that message, they'll be offered help and then can chat with one of our trained crisis counselors powered by Crisis Text Line. So that's a second safety feature that we built into the app from the beginning.
Yeah. I was looking at some of the testimonials on your website, which for our listeners, you haven't gone and check it out because they're really pretty interesting, pretty authentic. But one of the kids said, I really like After School. I love After School because I can see what other kids are saying about me. And I thought, yikes, I don't know that I want to know what other kids are saying about me. So how do you ensure that's a positive experience, and how does it work? How does the an anonymous feature work?
To answer your first question, when someone posts a message, it'll be either positive, neutral, or negative. And our moderation blocks out all the negative posts.
Oh, so you just delete those. You
Exactly.
just don't. Yeah. So there's no negativity.
There's if someone posts something negative, they go blocked by moderation, and no one will see it. So generally, when you see your name, it's I have a crush on so and so, or how do I ask this person out on a date?
Wow.
So it's very much a big thing of what teens talk about is relationships on after school. So, yeah.
All right. Now, circling back on something you said, which sounded pretty daunting, which is moderation. How do you do that?
So we started with 100% human moderation. So we work around the clock, 24/7, here in America and in some other countries. We built moderation technology and tools. We train human moderators, test them, and talk to them every single week. And as our audience grows, our number of moderators grow as well. And then in San Francisco, we have engineers working on technical moderation.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of human and technical, and then the community as well moderates. So a teenager can, we have a one and done policy. If you see something you don't like, you can hit the report button and it'll immediately get removed. No questions asked.
And that doesn't get abused. I mean, I can imagine that could almost be used as a form of bullying, right? You could just block Cory.
Yeah. Generally, it doesn't get abused.
Yeah. So there are some norms that have evolved around that. Yeah. Totally. Interesting. And on the machine moderation's pretty interesting. You suggest in the way you said it that maybe you're not at 100%. Or that's not yet 100% accurate in terms of the ability to differentiate.
Exactly, and that's why we have the humans. So
still have humans.
Yeah, exactly. So if the machine can't make a confident decision, it goes to the humans.
Yeah, okay, so the machine, that's interesting. So the machine part, if you have high confidence in the prediction that it's negative, you flag it. And if not, if it's gray, you put it in front of the humans. That then raises the question of how you monetize, because moderation isn't free, and I'm strongly guessing it's free for kids to use this app.
Correct. It is free for kids to use the app. So in terms of monetization, we're fortunate to have amazing investors right now that are supporting the product. At some point in time, we will monetize and make money. Similar to Snapchat, how they've done it. We've been a number of big brands and studios and movie producers have reached out to us saying, hey, my teens on after school, they told me I should advertise on this. So if you want to reach a teenage audience, you would come to after school to do that.
Awesome. Okay, so it's a standard. It's we're sitting here in Silicon Valley, and so it's the classic Silicon Valley model, which is build an amazing audience with a lot of engagement, and somebody will figure out how to monetize.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, I get it. But it also leads to a question about the extent to which you need to have the school on board, and obviously you have to be careful about how you monetize to keep the schools on board. But what has been the school response, and how do you engage with the institution?
So we work primarily with students. So we work similar to how Facebook and Snapchat and Twitter work. They work with the user. The users are generally, I guess when they started, the teenagers. So we work with teens. We also do proactively reach out to schools. My co-founder and I, at the end of last semester, we went undercover into a high school with school permission.
For those of you who can't see, Cory is a pretty youthful guy, so he was able to go undercover in a high school.
Yeah. So we've done that before and work with schools. They're fortunate to let us come in there and do that, and we mentor some of the students as well, locally here in San Francisco.
But you can't annoy a school, I don't think. I mean, you can, but it seems to me that you're a lot better off if the weather is favorable in the school. And so let me put it a different way. How have the schools reacted, or do you even know?
So some schools do reach out, and they want to just know more information about after school. So we do have a safety team in San Francisco, where they're proactively reaching out and letting schools know more about after school and functionality of it and how it works, and more giving information to schools about this product.
Yeah.
We have a parents guide as well that was done with one of our partners at Connect Safely. So we share that and do a number of other things with them.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Launchpad on Business Radio, powered by the Wharton School, Sirius XM, Channel 111. I'm your host this week, Carl Ulrich. I'm Vice Dean of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Wharton, and I'm speaking with Cory Levy, who's the co-founder and COO of After School. If you're someplace safe and at a web browser, you can go to afterschoolapp.com to check it out. Cory, where did the idea come from?
So we had my co-founder and I had been working on social products for quite some time before After School came out. And my co-founder, he had a really tough experience in high school.
We all did.
Yeah, his was on the more extreme.
Oh, really? Okay.
More extreme side, and one thing he recently said was times change, people don't. And when we set out to build After School, it's like, well, what would we want if we were in high school? And we want a safe place to communicate, to freely express ourselves without having to worry about any repercussions or anything like that. So, 10 years ago when I was in high school, I had Facebook, and then Facebook grew old, and now After School is coming in to sort of replace that experience.
All right. Now, so you alluded to you and your co-founder had worked on other projects. So maybe talk a little bit about that entrepreneurial journey. Was it part of the same venture?
Yeah, so it was part of the same company. My co-founder and I met when I was in high school. He was finishing up his master's at the University of Illinois, and he had worked on some futuristic communication technology prior to us teaming up together. He built technology that enabled the world's first voiceless cell phone call, and sort of dedicated his life to enabling all of the world's communications, and that's our goal at the company. And we started working on social products together in 2011. A first product we built was called One, and it was an app that was connecting people around interests and trying to introduce strangers to one another. And we iterated on that dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of times, and one of our iterations led us to After School.
So had any of those iterations gotten any traction, or was it really just a journey until you found this one? Yeah.
There was little traction here and there. There was some. One was focused on college students, and there were a couple of schools that we got some good penetration in, but it was a lot of fighting to get those users.
Yeah.
And when we, a little bit of the story of After School, when we first launched the beta of After School, we went into high schools, and 5 high schools in San Francisco locally, to go and test the product, and I guess snuck into high schools.
Yeah.
And
wow.
The product grew from 0 to over 50% of the whole high school within the first week. And it was a much different experience from the previous products that we built. It was, truly, it was word of mouth. Teens were telling other teens. And then when we put our beta in the App Store, it grew from 0 to 200,000 teenagers in 3 weeks, touching about 50% of the U.S. high schools.
How did you get? Geez, I got a lot of questions about that. Let me just first underscore that. Yeah, if you build a prototype, put it into a test, and you get 50% share in a week, you got something, right? So that's a really good indicator. But I got 2 questions about that. The first is, what did it take in terms of investment to be able, now I don't mean dollars necessarily, but effort, let's say, to get to the point where you had something somebody could use?
Yeah.
Because it's not trivial, right? So what did it take to build that thing that somebody could use? Then the second question is, were you able to do that without the App Store, and how?
Yeah. So, first question, took a lot of time. We were working on, again, social products for 3-4 years before before we had the beta of After School Ready. And with each iteration that we put out into the App Store, we got smarter and smarter and closer to having that product market fit with our users. Then when After School came about, I think that we started working on it in the summer of 2014, and then in November of 2014 we had a beta ready. So, 3-4 months.
Well, on the theory that you'd done it 4 times before, so
147 times
yeah,
before.
Yeah.
So then we, Apple has a beta program.
Oh, I see. So Apple has a beta. That's how you can do it.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then tested more, iterated more, and then put the beta in the App Store.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping to get a few thousand users. Tested that a little bit more, but those few thousand users turned into 200,000 pretty quickly.
Yeah, maybe you can say a little bit about traction. So I mean, I skipped a beat just when you said the time. So that you launched November, what year?
Our beta was November 2014, then we launched in April of 2015.
April 2015.
Yeah.
So you're just 18 months in, something like
about
that.
A year and a half.
And what can you say about traction? 18 months?
Millions of teenagers are on After School.
Yeah.
We're in over 80% of U.S. high schools, and currently a top 10 social networking app in the App Store.
Wow. That's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah. All right. So I got a bunch of questions, but let's start with you mentioned Illinois and meeting your co-founder at the University of Illinois, and we're staying in the promised land here in Silicon Valley. So when did you decide to move west? And did you have roots here, or what?
No
tell
roots
a little
here.
bit about the decision. Yeah.
I grew up in Houston, Texas, and started working in startups in high school. So I interned as a shadow to a CEO at a company that was in the first Facebook fund class and eventually acquired by Constant Contact. And then from there, I cold called a bunch of venture capitalists and said, hey, let me be the teen in your office. You invest in products that target teenagers. Let me be that voice and that give you that perspective. So I shadowed a guy named Justin Fisher-Wilson at the Founders Fund one summer for a little bit. I shadowed a guy named Albert Wenger at Union Square Ventures. I shadowed David Cohen at Techstars, and just short little externships shadowing these people. And then went to the University of Illinois and started working on side projects with my co-founder, Michael. One of our mentors said, we showed him the side project, and the mentor, his name's Keith Rabois, he's at Coastal Ventures. He said, are you raising money? And we said, no. He said, you should always be raising money. And we ended up raising a seed round of financing. I was 19, freshman year of college. And after we raised that seed round, we moved out west.
So did you drop out?
I paused it. Yeah, I dropped out of school.
Oh, there's a great tradition of that. As a professor, I can't encourage it, but it's a great tradition. Wow. So you did the whole dream. Drop out, move west, the whole deal. Yeah. VC.
Journey.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the fundraising. Now, if I think about the timing a little bit, we were in a hot spot in 2014, 2013. It's cooled off a little in 2015. So were you?
We raised our seed round in 2011. So, so we raised about $1 million in seed, and then we did a second seed round.
Mm-hmm.
And then when After School launched, we did a Series A.
Yeah.
And total the company's raised about 17, 18 million bucks.
Yeah.
But seed round, we learned a lot. We work with a lot of amazing investors, throughout the whole company. And biggest sort of takeaway when it was kind of funny, the takeaway from raising our seed round was when you ask for money, you get advice.
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
ask
yeah.
for advice, you get money. Since we generally weren't raising money when we.
And I suspect that's especially true right now, because I bet you a lot of people would love to be take a little more money at this point.
Yeah, exactly. We're not fundraising right now.
Yeah. I want to shift gears a little bit. We have just a couple minutes left, but this has now become a a product with a lot of users, and I wonder if you could talk a little bit about building the tech team and how you scale a product for really mass user base like this.
Yeah. So our team is relatively small and was relatively small at the beginning. We were 5-6 people. Today we're about 12-13 people. So you can do a lot with a little. And that's amazing. 5 years ago you probably couldn't. 10 years ago you definitely couldn't. So recruiting is obviously a challenge for any startup here in Silicon Valley. It's a big challenge for us as well. But we interview tons of people and only let a few in, and hire prodigies and hire really, really smart people. And if you have an amazing team, things will go well.
Yeah, well, but on the scaling side,
Yeah.
It's been decades since I wrote code myself, but the tools have gotten quite good, and on the infrastructure side, you're relying on, I don't know who you are, AWS, yeah,
Exactly.
so Amazon, and you figure, look, if Amazon goes down, we're all in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? So
there was a point though I remember when we first launched, we were doubling our infrastructure like every 2 days.
Yeah.
We just had to turn off the service for a little bit, and we get a bunch of users complaining, why is it off? It'd be in the middle of the night, and then be back up
this
in the
is
morning.
even though you're using AWS.
Yeah.
Okay, just going to another bigger
Exactly.
instance or whatever.
Exactly.
Whatever. Wow, amazing. All right, I wonder if we just have about a minute, but I wonder if you could tell us what After School tells us about what adult apps ought to look like.
What After School has to tell us about what adult apps?
I don't mean adult in quotes. I mean literally like Twitter, Facebook, the apps that I and my parents use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all amazing. I use them as well. And you're just watching sort of Snapchat's history as they started with one thing and have constantly grown and evolved the product. I think that's important for any company that wants to be around for a while, is to grow and evolve your product. Once you find something that works, it's fun to find more things that work. So at After School, we're doing that same thing. After School is a top 10 social networking app. It's growing a lot, but we're still pumping out new features and working on growing and evolving the product. So I think those companies should continue to do the same, and they are.
Yeah, they are. All right, great. All right, good answer. All right, well, it's an amazing story, and I love hearing about it. It's just if you blink in Silicon Valley, you miss something. So it's really great to learn about something new. Thanks so much for coming into the studio.
Thank you, and at Cory on Twitter and at After School App on Twitter if y'all are trying to get in touch.
All right, beautiful. You heard it. You can send Cory direct message at Cory on Twitter and at After School App on. Is it at After School App?
Yeah.
Okay, at After School App on Twitter. All right, that just about does it for today's show. If you've got a question about something you heard or a suggestion for companies or guests you'd like to hear, please send us a note. Our email address is businessradio@SiriusXM.com. To follow me, you can go to my website, ktulrich.com. That's KTULRICH. Or follow me on Twitter, at KTUlrich. I'd like to thank today's guests, Jesse Pujji, co-founder and CEO of Ampush, Dave Barden, the CEO and co-founder of Expand, Anand Sanwal, the co-founder and CEO of CB Insights, and Cory Levy, co-founder of the After School messaging app. Thanks also to producer Dana Cash, assistant producer Charlene Gatto, and engineer Dan Baker. And thank you for joining me on today's show. I'm Carl Ulrich, Vice Dean of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the Wharton School, and you've been listening to Launchpad on Business Radio, powered by the Wharton School, Sirius XM 111.